Let me tell you a story, and while you're listening, I want you to notice what your mind does without asking for permission. Chris is 35 years old. He studied social philosophy. He's been interested in developing countries since he was a teenager. After graduating, he worked for 2 years with the Red Cross in West Africa. Then he moved to Geneva, spent 3 more years at headquarters, and climbed the ladder until he was running the African Aid Department. After that, he completed an MBA. His thesis focused on corporate social responsibility. Now pause for a second. Here's the question. What is more likely? Chris works for a major bank. Or Chris works for a major bank where he runs its Third World Foundation. Don't answer out loud. Just notice what felt right. Most people immediately lean toward the second option. It feels clean. It feels logical. It feels like the story continues exactly where it's supposed to go. His past lines up neatly with his future. The world makes sense again, and that's precisely why it's wrong. The second option contains everything in the first option, plus an extra condition. It's not just Chris works for a bank. It's Chris works for a bank and specifically runs its Third World Foundation. That second group is a tiny slice of the first. By definition, it must be less likely. But your mind didn't calculate probability. It didn't slow down. It didn't count sets and subsets. It listened to a story, and the story sounded good. This is the deception of specific cases. The more detailed and harmonious a narrative feels, the more likely we believe it, even when logic says the opposite. Let me show you how deep this goes. Imagine I ask you another question. What is more likely? Seattle Airport is closed. Flights are cancelled. Or Seattle Airport is closed due to bad weather. Flights are cancelled. Again, most people pick the second option. Why? Because it explains the situation. It feels complete. Your brain hates loose ends, so it grabs the explanation that ties everything together, but the first option is objectively more likely. The airport could be closed for dozens of reasons: a technical failure, a strike, a security issue, an accident, a power outage, a threat that never makes the news. Bad weather is just one possibility. Yet the moment a plausible cause is attached, your mind relaxes. The story feels finished, and logic quietly exits the room. This isn't stupidity. This isn't lack of education. This is how the human mind is wired. We are attracted to coherence. We crave narratives that flow smoothly from beginning to end, and we will sacrifice probability to get that feeling. Here's the dangerous part. This bias doesn't disappear when stakes increase. It actually gets stronger. Even experts fall for it. At an international conference on future research in the early 1980s, a group of highly trained academics was split into 2 groups. Group A was given a simple forecast. Oil consumption will decrease by 30% next year. Group B received a richer story. A dramatic rise in oil prices will lead to a 30% reduction in oil consumption. Both groups were asked the same thing. How likely is this scenario? Group B felt far more confident, not because the forecast was more probable, but because it felt more reasonable. Cause and effect, action and consequence, a story with a clear villain and a clear outcome. The extra detail didn't increase accuracy, it increased belief. This is the trap. Specificity masquerades as truth. The more details a prediction includes, the more convincing it sounds, even though every added condition makes it less likely to occur. You see this everywhere once you start looking. In finance, in politics, in career advice, in relationships. Someone doesn't just say, "This stock might go up." They say, "This stock will go up because the CEO is visionary. The industry is booming, consumer sentiment is shifting, and institutional money is rotating into the sector." It sounds intelligent, sophisticated, insightful. But each added reason is another assumption, another condition that must be true at the same time. You're not being given certainty. You're being given decoration. Think about job predictions. It's likely you'll change careers in the next few years. Feels vague. But you'll move into a leadership role at a multinational company because your background, timing, and network align perfectly. Feels compelling. It also quietly piles condition on top of condition. Your mind doesn't see the stack. It sees the picture. This bias even shows up in fear. After major terrorist attacks, people rush to buy special insurance policies that specifically mention terrorism, even when standard policies already cover it. The word itself hijacks attention. Terrorism coverage feels safer than comprehensive coverage, even if the latter already includes the former. The story is sharper, more vivid, more emotionally charged. So we pay extra for reassurance we already had. This reveals something uncomfortable about how decisions are made. There are two modes running in your mind at all times. One is fast, automatic, intuitive. The other is slow, deliberate, analytical. The fast one doesn't ask whether something is statistically sound. It asks whether it feels right, whether the story fits what it already believes, whether the pieces click together. And by the time the slow, rational part wakes up, the conclusion has already been emotionally accepted. This is why warnings don't work unless they interrupt the narrative. Telling someone, "Be logical," does nothing, but forcing them to remove details does. Here's a simple test. Take any prediction you hear and strip it down. Remove the reasons, remove the motivations, remove the explanatory fluff. What's left? Usually something much weaker and much more honest. Markets will crash because of X, Y, and Z becomes markets might crash. This relationship will succeed because of compatibility, timing, and growth becomes this relationship might succeed. It doesn't feel satisfying anymore. That discomfort is the signal that you're finally thinking clearly. Your brain wants certainty. The world doesn't offer it. That gap is filled with stories. And stories are dangerous when they pretend to be facts. This is why confident forecasters are often wrong. Not because they lack intelligence, but because they confuse narrative strength with probability. A single condition is always more likely than multiple conditions combined, even when the combined version sounds smarter. Remember that the next time someone gives you a beautifully structured explanation of the future. Remember it when advice feels too aligned with someone's past. Remember it when predictions come wrapped in moral lessons and neat endings. The world does not reward harmony. It rewards survival. And survival depends on resisting the urge to believe what sounds right and instead asking what is actually likely. The rule is simple, even if it's uncomfortable. If an additional condition has to be met, no matter how reasonable it sounds, the outcome becomes less likely, not more. Whenever a story feels complete, pause. That feeling isn't truth. It's temptation.
Thanks for spending time with us. If this sparked a new way of thinking, hit like and subscribe to keep the ideas flowing. And don't forget, check the description for the links to the resources and the original books we used today. We'll see you in the next one.